Pakistan Prime Minister says that those behind the attack deserve no mercy. Prime Minister Modi's big island diplomacy says India and Mauritius boost ties further. India and Mauritius strengthen their relationship to enhanced strategic partnership. Prime Minister Modi has been conferred with Mauritius' highest civilian honour. Indian origin student disappears in the Dominican Republic. The search intensifies for the 20-year-old missing Sudiksha Konanki. Authorities name 24-year-old Joshua as a person of interest. Musk's Starlink enters India. It's set to be a game changer for consumers. We decode why the Starlink-Airtel partnership could be a big boost for Indian consumers. And finally, there are reports suggesting that the US Vice President J.D. Vance and his wife Usha Vance may visit India later this month. Amidst trade tensions, Vance's visit to India will be a key spotlight between India and the US. Our top story on the show, Pakistani security forces have exchanged gunfire on Wednesday with hundreds of separatists, militants, as they worked to free over 300 hostages who are still on a train after Baloch militants hijacked a passenger train in a tunnel in Pakistan's Balochistan province. At least 30 militants have been killed and security forces have rescued about 190 out of the 450 passengers on the train when it was hijacked on Tuesday as it entered a tunnel in Poland. This is the first time that such an audacious attack has been carried out. The Jaffar Express, carrying around 400 passengers in 9 bogies, was travelling from Quetta to Peshawar when armed men intercepted it in a tunnel near the mountainous terrain of Gudalar and Piru Kunri. Let's first listen in to one of the victims who was rescued to understand the plight of these 450 odd passengers.
लोग चीख रहे थे, गाड़े मार रहे थे, बस कुछ लेट गए, हम भी लेट गए पूरी ट्रेन में, सब लोग लेट गए कि अपनी जान बचाएं। बस बाय से कुछ फायरिंग हुई, ब्लास्ट हुए, आप लोग नीचे उतरे, लोग नहीं उतर रहे थे, मैं अपने बच्चों को लेके उतर गया।
So the Baloch insurgency is a big issue for Pakistan, most importantly because these have been brutalized by the Pakistani army for long. Let's get in Tilak Tejwashar, who's an author who's written on this issue many times to understand how significant this is and how it can really pose a big threat to Pakistan's sovereignty. Mr. Tilak, thank you so much for taking out the time to speak to NDTV. My first question to you is, this is probably the most audacious attack that the BLA has ever carried out on Pakistan.
First of all, thank you so much for having me on your show. It indeed, not only in Pakistan, I think in my memory, I don't recall any train being hijacked. It's not easy to hijack a train. Aircraft, yes, cars, buses, etc. But to hijack a train requires tremendous amount of coordination, planning. And how do you stop a moving train? You have to have enough firepower and explosives to be able to do that. So yes, it is an incident which has in fact catapulted the Baloch struggle for independence to a much higher plane than it would have been possible if the train had not been hijacked. So it's a very important development in the Baloch struggle. And I think we will in future talk about the pre-Jaffar Express and the post-Jaffar Express.
I was coming to just that, Mr. Tejwashar, that how do you see this incident now becoming a catalyst for the larger movement in the Baloch region?
I think it's going to be a very important development because, it's one thing to attack a cantonment or to attack a convoy or to attack isolated camps, but to hijack an entire train which is carrying about over 200 Pak soldiers is something which is extraordinary, to say the least. So this is really going to boost the struggle, the Baloch struggle for independence. It will give a lot of encouragement to other nationalities, especially the Pashtun and the Sindhis, that, if the Baloch could do this, such a major event, so can we. and it will also serve as a sort of a shining example to other Baloch youth who are sitting on the fence or who have not taken to an armed struggle so far. So I think it's going to have multiple impact, which will unfold in the coming weeks and coming months.
Do you think Pakistani sovereignty over some of these provinces is at probably the greatest risk ever right now after this incident?
You see, if you recall, about a week or 10 days ago, Maulana Fazlur Rahman, who is one of the most astute politicians and mature politicians in Pakistan, had said in the National Assembly that there are 5 to 7 districts of Balochistan where if the people declare independence, the United Nations will recognize them. The former Interior Minister, Rana Sanaullah, said in a statement that the situation in Balochistan is alarming. And then you had Akhtar Mengal, who tweeted today, and even last year, he had said that the situation in Balochistan is out of control. So it is certainly impacting Pakistan's sovereignty if in an area, Balochistan is 44% of Pakistan's area, 44% mind you. And if the situation there is out of control, if it is out of control of the Pakistan army, then whose control is it in? Obviously, it's in control of the Baloch
Mr. Devasha, there's a latest press release that has come out by and that has been issued by the Baloch army that I'm just reading out, which says that there's complete control over the Jaffar Express that is maintained. Pakistani state has 24 hours left to exchange the prisoners. Of course, there are now more than 200, they're saying, serving enemy personnel, including intelligence agents that are there and are with the BLA in their custody. So they are giving the Pakistani government 24 hours for the exchange that they want. Essentially, they are not climbing down. So what it looks like is that this could end up becoming a very tedious issue and also a very difficult issue for the Pakistani government to overcome. How will they undertake the hostage transfer, if at all, and how will they put the situation under control?
So this ultimatum was given yesterday. The Baloch had given them 48 hours and said that in 48 hours, all the Baloch political prisoners that are in custody and those people who are missing should be released. Of those 48 hours, 24 hours have already passed and 24 hours are left. Now, what options does the Pakistan army have? You know, it will be very difficult for them. Obviously, the Baloch are prepared to handle any moves by the Pakistan army either by air or by ground forces. And they have warned that if any such operation is carried out, first thing they're going to do is to kill the hostages. I'm sure the place where the Baloch hostages are, the army soldiers are, that has been, surrounded by explosives and can go off at the touch of a button. So the Pakistan army will have to tread very, very carefully in what they do. Either do they open negotiations, which should be the best option is to open negotiations, talk to them, see if you can tire them out, reduce their demands. But Pakistan army is not given to such sophisticated measures. As I say, that if all you have a hammer, everything looks like a nail. So the Pakistan army believes in brute force and not in subtlety.
And probably that's why the situation is what it is in Balochistan, because of the Punjabi army's heavy-handed way of trashing and trampling all dissent. I have to leave it there, Mr. Devasha. Thank you so much for speaking to me today. This is an issue I'm going to come back and speak to you more on. And the bottom line, viewers, really is that this issue is a chilling reminder of Pakistan's internal crisis. It is not just Baloch insurgents which are now making these brazen strikes. It is now going to be the Sindh. It's going to be the Pashtuns. All of them are going to come and try and seek some sort of a relief from the brutal Punjabi Pakistani army. It's essentially a gang of Punjabis who dominate and control the Pakistani army. Their brute force is the reason why some of these provinces have been left. It is the reason why you have the Hindu minority population being completely almost stamped out. And it is the reason of the Pakistani army that China's CPEC projects have almost destroyed livelihoods and destroyed local communities in these regions. Shifting focus now to Mauritius, where Prime Minister Modi just completed his 2-day visit. In fact, it's also a crucial Sagar ally, Mauritius, where he was also accorded the highest civilian honor. And after attending the Mauritius National Day celebrations, Prime Minister Modi took part in the flag hoisting ceremony as the chief guest, and the Indian Navy was also part of the National Day of Mauritius, where the Prime Minister conferred the highest civilian honor to the Prime Minister of India. Now, what this means, the significance of it, why Mauritius makes an important ally for India in the Indian Ocean region. I spoke with the Deputy Foreign Minister of Mauritius earlier today, Mr. Narsinghan. Listen in to that conversation. Joining us now is the Mauritius Deputy Foreign Minister, Mr. Rajan Narsinghan, to talk about the significance of this visit and Prime Minister Modi being accorded the highest civilian honor. Mr. Narsinghan, thank you so much for speaking to NDTV. And in fact, let me start by asking you the significance and importance of having Prime Minister Modi as the chief guest on Mauritius National Day.
So, first of all, I would like to say thank you to you, your team, and also a special namaste, good morning, namaskaram, vanakkam to all our Indian brothers and sisters. And in fact, yesterday, your Prime Minister, in his outstanding speech, he mentioned that Mauritius and India, we are family. Not just only two countries, but family. So for us, Mauritius, for our new government, it is a very, very important visit. And in fact, we are very happy that it is the first statesman visiting our country after the new government has been in office. So it is something very emotional, I would say, but also very rational because as we unfold today, I will try to explain to you what have been the burning topics being discussed between the two governments, but especially between your Prime Minister, Modi ji, and our Prime Minister, Dr. Navin Chandra Ramgoolam. But also, as you know, your Prime Minister is being accompanied by your other great Foreign Affairs Minister, Mr. Jaishankar, Subramaniam Jaishankar, and the whole delegation from India.
Okay, so India is strengthening its ties with Mauritius. Prime Minister Modi spoke about the cultural bond. He spoke about the Girmitya Divas as well. How do you see these bonds now being strengthened further and going on from here?
We have a very, very strong cultural ties with India. As you know, we've got the Mahatma Gandhi Institute, which is specialized in culture. We have also the Indira Gandhi Cultural Center. And with our Ministry of Arts and Culture, we have very, very close collaboration with India to promote Hindi, Bhojpuri, Tamil, Telugu, Marathi, and many other ancestral languages. But over and above ancestral languages, we are also promoting music, classical music, modern music, and as you know, Bollywood is very popular in Mauritius. And we're also promoting folk dance, and many aspects of art and culture. So we are indebted to India for so many years after independence. Even before independence, there has been that very, very close link between Sir Siv Sagar Ramgoolam, our Prime Minister, previous Prime Minister, first Prime Minister, considered as the father of the nation, and the very intimate and close link with multiple Prime Ministers from India, including late Mrs. Indira Gandhi. And today, with the actual Prime Minister, Modi ji, I think he has a special links, a special liking for Mauritius. And yesterday in his speech, Modi ji mentioned about how water from the Ganges was sent to our own lake, sacred lake, the Ganga Talao. So I'm sure that these sort of ancestral links, we have many of our ancestors coming from different parts of India, from Bihar, from Tamil Nadu, from Andhra Pradesh, from Maharashtra. So I think this, over the years, has consolidated our relationship.
Okay. And beyond culture, some of the MOUs that have been signed between India and Mauritius, whether it's defense, whether it's maritime security, economic partnership, where do you see those areas, the relationship going and the bilateral ties going?
As you know, since quite a long time, the Indian Prime Minister Modi ji has been promoting the concept of Sagar. And this concept is his vision, the vision of India, to promote security and also peace. And as you know, Indian Ocean is a very, very strategic place. And so it is important not only for Mauritius, not only for India, but for the whole world, I would say, but also for Africa, to make sure that we got security at sea. And you know about the threats which have been on from pirates and other threats at sea. And thanks to India, to a great extent, we have to confess that as a small country, we do not have the capacity, we do not have the means to monitor our extensive, exclusive economic zone. It's not only Mauritius. We have a number of sister islands, and we are one of the countries. We can say that we have one of the biggest in terms of extent of exclusive economic zone. So we have been relying a lot on India to ensure security for the ocean, for the Indian Ocean. But also we collaborate with many other countries, our traditional allies like the United States, United Kingdom, France, and many other, the EU, but also with many other countries. And as you know, in a way, Mauritius, we have always been practicing a sort of neutrality when it comes to international relations.
Okay, but also, you mentioned about your exclusive economic zone. It is attracting global powers. How do you see India's role in the Indian Ocean, and particularly with regard to ties with Mauritius going forward?
Yeah, as I mentioned, we want to promote this more and more. And in the past, India has been collaborating. And I'm sure this time, with a meeting between the two prime ministers, and also backed behind by our Deputy Prime Minister, Mr. Paul Béranger, and the whole team of ministers, our Foreign Affairs Ministry, spearheaded by Mr. Ramphal, my colleague, and myself as Deputy Minister of Foreign Affairs. We're going to work and consolidate that relationship. And in fact, over and above, when we come now shifting from maritime security to partnership in economic matters, you will see that beside the SEGPA, we have been working on a sort of more strategic, enhanced economic partnership, because it's good to consolidate our ties in the field of culture and also our emotional ties, very important. And yesterday, our Prime Minister, Dr. Navin Chandra Ramgoolam, was very touched. You know what happened yesterday? A very symbolical gesture from your Prime Minister, who offered the OCI card to both our Prime Minister, Dr. Navin Chandra Ramgoolam, and the First Lady of our country, Mrs. Veena Ramgoolam. And in return, our Prime Minister conferred upon your Prime Minister the most prestigious title, the DOSK, and only 5 heads of government, heads of state have been given this sort of prestigious decoration. So very, very important. So what happened yesterday?
Together, we are sight savers. Together, with local doctors and nurses, we are treating millions of people with diseases or conditions that cause sight loss. Together, with parents and carers, we are helping families live free from the fear of children going blind from avoidable causes. And together, with those who have left a gift in their will to sight savers, we are doing all this and more. Since 1950, in over 30 countries, we've provided over 1.5 billion treatments to help prevent blindness and other conditions. But there's more to be done. Together, we can create a future where diseases that cause sight loss are eliminated from whole communities. Get your free guide to leaving a gift in your will by calling 0800 038 2283 or searching Sight Savers Legacy. Leave a gift in your will to Sight Savers. And together, we can create a future where no one goes blind from preventable causes.
Now I'm retired, I can spend more time with my grandson. I'm proud of him and want to help any way I can. Which reminds me.
Welcome to British Seniors, the UK's #1 rated provider of over 50s life insurance.
Hi, I'd like a quick quote.
No problem. We're proud to offer our seniors lifetime guarantee. With 100% of claims having been paid, we guarantee your premiums will never go up and that you'll speak to one of our specialists in the UK.
Well, that's good to know.
UK residents aged 50 to 80 are guaranteed to be accepted. Depending on your age, your loved ones can get a cash payout up to £10,000.
And that money can help with my funeral costs or even be used as a gift. I'll do it.
Plus, when you sign up, you'll receive a £135 gift card and free 24/7 GP advice and health services.
Thanks, Mum, for everything.
Be proud to protect your loved ones with British Seniors. To get a free quote today, call our UK team on 0800 158 552 or visit britishseniors.co.uk.
Ayer no tenía comida y la niña estaba mal. Lloró. Estábamos tristes.
All over the world, millions of children like Fatun, Leolida and Monica are going hungry because of conflict, displacement and extreme weather. We urgently need your help to fight acute hunger and malnutrition. Please search Save the Children or visit savethechildren.org.uk to give £5 a month. You can help give hungry families life-saving food and provide malnourished children the treatment they need to recover. Please, donate today.
Welcome back. This is India Global. Turning our attention now to shocking news coming in that remains our top focus. Authorities have identified a person of interest in the case of Sudiksha Konanki's disappearance. 24-year-old Joshua Ribe has been questioned following the college student's disappearance during her spring break in the Dominican Republic. This report highlights and brings to you the shocking details of this story.
A family's worst nightmare. 20-year-old Sudiksha Konanki, an Indian origin student studying in the US, has gone missing while on holiday in the Dominican Republic. Her parents, devastated and desperate for answers, plead for help as authorities fear she may have drowned. Sudiksha was on a trip with friends when she went to swim in the ocean, but she never made it back. Authorities say strong currents may have swept her away. A pre-med student from Virginia, she was vacationing with 5 friends in Punta Cana when tragedy struck. Surveillance footage shows Sudiksha and her friends partying at a resort until 3 a.m. At around 4 a.m., they headed to the beach. By 5:30 a.m., her friends had left, leaving her alone with another tourist. Her whereabouts after that are unclear. With K9 teams, drones and specialized rescue personnel, a massive search operation is underway across Punta Cana's beaches. The Dominican Civil Defense, National Police, Navy and firefighters are all involved. US agencies including the FBI, DEA and Homeland Security investigations are assisting in the investigation. Authorities say they will continue searching, but with every passing hour, hopes of finding Sudiksha alive are fading. Her family and friends wait in agony, hoping for news. With Malvika Murli, Bureau Report, NDTV.
In Bangladesh, Dhaka court has directed the confiscation of several properties linked to former Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina, including her Dhanmundi residence and several other assets that were owned by her family members who are currently living in exile in India. Along with these properties, the court also ordered the seizure of 124 bank accounts associated with the family. Assets affected include those owned by Sheikh Hasina's son Sajid Wajid Joy, her daughter Saima Wajid Putul, her sister and her nieces and nephews as well. The order was issued on Tuesday by Senior Special Judge Zakir Hussain Ghalib following an application filed by the Anti-Corruption Commission. And on that note, a quick break. More stories on the other side. Stay with us.
It's all good. You have a Tucson, so you can enjoy quiet driving with electric mode. The new Hyundai Tucson plug-in hybrid, available with 0% APR.
Some things in life you know are going to happen, just as you know Sun Life pays every claim. Choose the nation's favourite today and start our 5-star rated over 50s plan. Call free or go online and get our biggest £140 gift card.
Have we run out of milk? Make more room for beauty. The hottest new arrivals join all your favourites at Boots.
Don't worry, found it!
We know that living with diabetes can make daily life a challenge, and we're here to help.
I felt very low with the diagnosis and very lonely as well and embarrassed.
I think people don't necessarily realise the impact that being diabetic can have on you and the amount of extra decisions you have to make a day through carb counting every single thing you eat.
Day-to-day living with diabetes is really difficult. So Diabetes UK has made my life easier every day.
If you're struggling with the everyday challenges diabetes can bring, maybe it's time to become a Diabetes UK member. Call 0800 035 7601 or go online to become a member. And for just £3 a month, you'll get a welcome pack and a practical guide tailored to your type of diabetes and a copy of Balance magazine 4 times a year.
Balance magazine has been very good in giving me tips to manage my diabetes on a day-to-day basis.
Plus regular email updates with the latest diabetes news and special discounts.
One of the things I was recommended to do was exercise. What motivated me was my love of dance, and I got that back.
Join a community that really understands. Call 0800 035 7601 or go online to become a member for just £3 a month.
I would recommend Diabetes UK to anyone with diabetes. Join up, become part of a community, get that support that you need.
AI scientist, and some would even call him a rock star in the AI space.
We definitely need AI for is to unlock some of the mysteries of nature.
As someone who is an AI scientist, what is your goal?
Our civilization is facing a number of sort of challenges, and I think this is where AI comes into the picture.
Will this replace most jobs?
The new generation of AI models is that they have cognitive ability.
Welcome Welcome back. You're watching India Global. We turn our attention to Ukraine. Hours after Ukraine agreed to a 30-day truce in the over 3-year-long war against Russia, the Trump administration lifted its suspension of military aid and intelligence sharing for Ukraine. The administration's decision marked a sharp shift from only a week ago when it imposed these measures in an apparent effort to push Ukrainian President Zelensky to enter talks to end the war with Russian forces. Meanwhile, amidst a growing divide between Europe and the US, reports have revealed that the UK was intimately involved in helping Ukraine and the US reach an agreement over a proposed ceasefire deal with Russia. Donald Trump has said that the ball is now squarely in Moscow's court. Listen in.
Ukraine, ceasefire, just agreed to a little while ago. Now we have to go to Russia and hopefully President Putin will agree to that also, and we can get this show on the road. We can get this horrible war where 2,000-3,000 soldiers a week, every week, 2,000, 3,000, 4,000 sometimes. I get the reports, and they're not American soldiers. They're Ukrainian and they're Russian. But people are being killed outside of that. People are being killed in the cities as things explode throughout the cities, and we want to get that war over with.
Внимательно изучаем те заявления, которые сделаны по итогам, знакомимся с текстом совместного заявления, которое было принято в Джинде. Вы забегаете чуть-чуть вперед, мы не хотим этого делать. Вчера, общаясь с прессой, и Рубио, и Волц заявили, что по различным каналам они передадут нам детальную информацию о сути состоявшихся разговоров в Джинде. Вот сначала мы должны эту информацию получить.
Okay, let's get in Jessica Stone from Voice of America joining us live from Washington, D.C. Jessica, good to have you on the show. Talk to us about the latest in this mediation efforts. It's been on again, off again, on again, off again. But where does it stand right now?
So the Kremlin spokesperson says that Moscow is basically waiting for Washington's to give them the text of the ceasefire deal, to give them more details on it. But it's really not clear at this point that Moscow will accept this 30-day ceasefire proposal, especially if Russia continues to make military gains. Now, we know that those military gains were made up until the last month or so, and now they're starting to slow. So that will be a factor, presumably, in President Putin's decision. Russian skeptics saying that they believe it's possible that the ceasefire is really more a function of trying to give Washington a way to give back that military aid it had taken away from Kyiv. That, of course, not the tone or the tenor of the remarks made by Secretary of State Marco Rubio, who says we do want an enduring peace here, and saying also we will see where the obstacles lie based on Russia's response to the ceasefire deal. Just before starting this broadcast, Jessica, there's a statement that's coming from Secretary of State Marco Rubio, who said that it would be highly unfortunate if Russia rejects a 30-day Washington-backed ceasefire plan. So the U.S. is also throwing its weight behind this ceasefire, isn't it? Yes, certainly, and using the presence of the ceasefire deal on the table to pressure Moscow to acquiesce, just to get to the negotiating table. We're not even talking about territory yet or security guarantees. We're simply talking about getting the parties to the table at this point. And also the fact that Ukraine has actually abandoned key towns like Kirks, again an indication that it wants to come on the negotiating table, essentially that. Well, certainly Ukraine has made it clear that they do want to get back to the negotiating table. They've certainly lost a lot of support from the U.S. in terms of that military aid and the intelligence gathering. That has now been restored, but they want security guarantees, and that's where we're seeing the European leaders come in. And Jessica, finally, as things stand right now, we know how it's looking like. There is a ceasefire proposal on the table, but both sides have their conditions. What does it look like from the Trump administration side? That is this the only deal on the table? Are they willing to negotiate? Because, as I said, there's just been so many ifs and buts and on and off again in this that one doesn't know where it's going. No, I don't think we do know where it's going. We will know more once we hear from Moscow. about whether or not they're willing to enter into these negotiations. Remember, they've previously not been willing to enter these negotiations, choosing to solve this militarily. Marco Rubio, the Secretary of State, says this cannot be resolved militarily, that it must be resolved through negotiations. The US and the UK trying to broker that deal and get the discussion going on what territory Ukraine is willing to cede to Russia and what security guarantees Russia is willing to allow for Ukraine to have so that this can come to an end.
All right, Jessica, always a pleasure to have you on the show. Thanks much for joining in. Okay, let's now take a look at what Elon Musk's SpaceX and Starlink rather is wanting to do in India. It's announced an agreement with Airtel to bring Starlink's high-speed internet services to customers in India. The first such agreement that will be signed, which is subject, of course, to SpaceX receiving its own authorizations to sell Starlink in India. What does it mean? How can it change the game for internet connectivity in India, for satellite telephony in India? And why does it matter to you, the consumer? My colleague Vishal Vivek breaks it all down for you.
Let's look at how Starlink actually works. So it operates on satellite internet service tech, and there are various aspects to it, and the users are required a Starlink dish and a router. And this dish is positioned in a way that the closest Starlink satellite is connected to it. And there are about 7,000 different Starlink satellites across the world, and almost all of them are activated as we speak. Now let's look at how fast this internet service provided by Starlink is. So a report suggests that the broadband speed associated with Starlink is comparable to 4G and in some cases even 5G. So the speed is pretty good there. And it's ideal for video conferencing and online gaming. So all the basic necessities will be fulfilled there. And fiber-based net services offer higher speed in urban areas. This is also one of the features associated with Starlink. But the main feature is that people living in rural areas, they would benefit from this Starlink service where fiber connectivity is quite lower. Now let's look at how it can benefit Indian users. For that, we have to look at the plan used by our neighbor, Bhutan. So Bhutan has two plans. The first one is residential light plan, under which the net speed provided is up to about 100 Mbps, which costs about 3,000 rupees per month. And as I mentioned earlier, it is suitable for casual browsing and video streaming. There's another plan called Standard Residential Plan, which provides a net speed of up to 110 Mbps, and it costs about 4,200 approximately per month. And in this scenario, we'll be able to use gaming, HD streaming, and video conferencing. Now let's look at how this service will actually benefit Indians. So India's internet penetration stands at about 47% right now. About 700 million people are without any reliable internet services. So these people are, standing to benefit from Starlink service. Rural net connectivity is a major source for this, which will also change. And this is likely to boost net connectivity in remote areas, as we've been talking about. So that is the major area of focus for Starlink. And the speed provided here can go up to as much as 220 Mbps, which is as good as any 5G service.
Okay, let's understand why this matters to you, the viewer, and how it will change the industry in India. Almas Johari, who's a tech expert, joins me live from Bangalore to decode this. Almas, explain to us and to our viewers why this is significant and how it will really change the internet industry as we know in India.
Well, absolutely. So, see, the partnership between the Airtel and SpaceX, Starlink, provides an exciting turning point for Indian businesses. So, as a business and as a business person and a techie, I see a tremendous possibilities emerging from this collaboration. One of the significant hurdles, Indian businesses face, especially in smaller cities and rural areas, is constant access to high-speed and reliable internet. So this gap hampers productivity, innovation, and growth potential. So the tie-up promises to bridge, this gap, creating like a even a playing field for businesses, irrespective of their geographic location. So by leveraging Starlink satellite technology along with Airtel's extensive domestic network, so the enterprises, the businesses, the enterprises sectors ranging from agriculture, healthcare, education to fintech can greatly enhance operational efficiency, improve services deliveries. So we have a UPI system, and with this outreach in rural areas, today we have about 500 million transactions daily. With the good access to internet, I think this can go up to even 1 billion transactions in a day. So this is a significant milestone, I would say, for the businesses, the business landscape.
Indeed, it will be extremely important in terms of internet connectivity and internet coverage as well. There are certain regulatory hurdles which I am assuming could be probably overcome over the next 6 to 8 months. The other question I want to ask is that how does this open up the larger internet industry, so to say? Do you expect more such companies to come in this space, or how is that going to work out?
Yeah, so it opens up a lot of opportunities for businesses across the domain, right? As we know today, our digital economy is about 11%, and we are hoping to grow by 20%. With the access to internet, I think we're going to grow, we get to 20% in much faster. So this, to have this digital presence, I think. It provides an opportunity for all the major stakeholders, to get into this space and be part of this phenomenon.
All right, let's leave it there, Mas. Thanks much for speaking to NDTV on a story that I'm sure is really going to revolutionize internet telephony, internet, as well as the satellite space as well in India. On that note, a quick break. We come back with more on the other side.
Find a pet-friendly Italian restaurant with outdoor seating nearby and text it to Luca.
Find it real quick. Send it to the click. Wow, the place is sick.
Get the Samsung Galaxy S25 Ultra with Galaxy AI for just $56.99 a month with club card prices. It pays to be connected. Search Tesco Mobile. Every little helps.
Sign up and start saving with Quidco today. Cashback every time you shop on over 5,000 brands. It always pays to Quidco.
Who do I trust for business insurance?
If you need business insurance, join nearly 1 million customers who trust
Whatever you need to ask about cancer, Macmillan's free support line is just a call away.
Hello, Macmillan.
Whether it's money,
am I going to lose my job?
Getting on with life,
Can I still go abroad? Get insurance?
or just need someone to listen.
How do I tell them?
Our specialist advisors are here to help as often as you need them. Whatever you need to ask, cancer, money, life, call us now on 0808 134 1000.
I've been thinking, I want to plan my funeral so it feels more like a celebration. My parents always said I was born dancing. I just love it. Bhangra, disco, even line dancing. So when my time comes, I want to have music, dancing, the lot.
With over 150 years' experience, you can count on Co-op Funeral Care to help you pre-plan the funeral you want. To find out more, visit Co-op Funeral Care or give us a call.
Family life.
It's made of ups and downs, and those little moments. But should the unthinkable happen to you? Life insurance from Legal & General can help look after monthly bills, the roof over their heads, childcare costs, and most importantly, your family. Because no one protects more families in the UK than us. Premiums start from £5 a month and they never rise. Plus there's a £100 gift card after you apply. Legal & General. Ensure life goes on.
President Trump imposed sweeping 25% tariffs on all steel and aluminium products imported into the U.S., a policy aimed at leveling the playing field for U.S. manufacturing, but a move that threatens to drive up prices on a broad range of consumer industrial goods for Americans. Just how significant this could be, this report answers that for you.
For a long time, and congratulations.
With less than a month to go before Trump's tariffs hit India, the White House has yet again targeted New Delhi, breaking up the issue of tariffs that India imposes on its goods, citing high taxes on American alcohol and agricultural products.
India, 150% tariff on American alcohol. You think that's helping Kentucky bourbon be exported into India? I don't think so. 100% tariff on agricultural products from India.
Meanwhile, Trump's increased tariffs on all U.S. steel and aluminium imports took effect today, stepping up his America First campaign and drawing swift condemnation from across the globe. Responding to what they call Trump's unjustified tariffs, the European Union announced retaliatory measures on all U.S. exports worth $28 billion, covering a range of products from steel to agricultural goods. China and Japan too signaled firm action would be taken, while Australia stopped short of retaliatory action.
The European Union must act to protect consumers and business. The countermeasures we take today are strong but proportionate. As the United States are applying tariffs worth $28 billion, we are responding with countermeasures worth 26 billion euros. This matches the economic scope of the tariffs of the United States.
However, hours before the tariffs took effect, Trump halted his plan to double U.S. tariffs on Canadian steel and metal imports to 50%, marking the latest skirmish in a trade war between the two countries. Trump's fixation on tariffs since taking office and his flip-flopping on the matter has rattled investors, consumers, and business confidence, to a point that has worried economists that it could cause a U.S. recession or a Trump session that could hurt the global economy. Earlier signs of an economic meltdown were seen on Tuesday, when the U.S. stock market lost as much as $4 trillion in value ahead of his threats. However, Trump remained undeterred and dismissed any concerns of a possible recession.
I don't see it at all. I think this country is going to boom. But as I said, I can do it the easy way or the hard way. The hard way to do it is exactly what I'm doing, but the results are going to be 20 times greater.
Mr. President, you asked...
And remember, Trump is always right.
The U.S. president's trade war is nowhere close to the end, with the Trump administration constantly highlighting the unfair tariffs imposed on American goods, including India's high levies on American alcohol and cars. With Trade Minister Piyush Goyal back in India, one will have to wait and watch to see whether India will be able to avert the U.S. tariffs before the April 2nd deadline. Disha Bagchi for NDTV World.
Okay, so there is a trade war that's underway between the US and at least half a dozen countries. That also includes India as well, simply because he wants to put very high tariffs in response. Add to it the fact that global investment sentiment is now suddenly turned bearish because protectionist tendencies have a way of wearing business climate down. What does this mean? Let's get in Gulzar Didwania, who's a partner and global trade advisory leader at Deloitte. Gulzar, thanks much for speaking to NDTV. Let me start by asking you, how significant are these protectionist tendencies? Because it's not the US, there are now measures that are being slapped by most countries around the world.
First of all, let me start with saying that are these protectionist measures as per the WTO guidelines. So typically, when you are applying these kind of tariff measures with the countries where you already have a trade agreement, then these kind of protectionist measures are treated as non-compliant with WTO guidelines.
Unfortunately,
However,
nobody cares about the WTO. No matter how many times you violate it, its appellate tribunal system itself is so hollow that nobody can fix it. So it's not about the WTO. I understand what you're saying, but let's, instead of making it in a discussion about the WTO, let's try and focus on how do you see the next 6 to 8 months panning out with the EU, with India, with China. These are the large trading partners of America.
I think what I see that except India is taking a stance where they are believing in kind of bilateral discussions, and that's why the bilateral trade agreement is underway. But all other countries where I don't see any such sign of bilateral discussions taking place, they are imposing retaliatory measures. So, Canada imposed 25% tariff on electricity exports, and that's why Trump had to halt the decision. They had a discussion on whether this 50% should be halted or not. So that the retaliatory measure which Canada took, and similarly EU we talked about, they are also going to impose retaliatory measures. So we are going to see a world where we are getting into protectionist mechanism. We are talking about inflationary measures. We are talking about, again, world trade getting impacted big time if these measures are not resolved. What we need to see is how India reacts. India, we are talking about Piyush Goyal's discussions with the US, all recently concluded. He came back to India, and now they are seeking inputs from the exporters. How the exports from India to US will get impacted because of these kind of measures.
Do you see,
so I think,
trade numbers, bilateral trade figures getting impacted in the wake of these very serious tariffs that are being imposed or talked about?
It's sector by sector, one has to see. If you talk about pharma sector, yes, they are really worried. If you talk about IT sector, they're not that much worried because we hardly import anything from US, and therefore the duty rates are also not that high. So sector by sector, agriculture sector is really worried. So one has to look at sector by sector.
Steel, aluminium, alcohol, agriculture, automobiles. These are your sectors which are worrying.
Which are actually worried. And then, because if we are talking about 100% tariff on import of four-wheeler into US, then definitely that is going to have a big impact, and US is a big market for India, upcoming market for India.
Finally,
so unless a trade deal is signed,
I was going to say that finally, do you see that this could be a catalyst for some sort of a limited agreement being signed to try and minimize or at least cushion the impact?
Absolutely, and that's where I think India is taking a very, very, I would say, not so aggressive stance, but a moderate stance where we are into discussions with US rather than openly retaliating. Okay, let's agree on a win-win situation for both the countries, what we are exporting to you, what is important for us. Let's identify those areas, what is important for you, let's identify those areas, and can we come to a common ground which is win-win for both. I think that's where India is now trying to position itself, and I definitely see that is going to take place, but whether it will take place before 2nd April, we don't know.
Really, that's $1 million question, or $1 billion question actually. Thank you so much for joining me on this edition of India Global. Shifting focus now to China, which will host a meeting on Friday with Russia and Iran to discuss the Iranian nuclear issue. The deputy foreign ministers from these countries are set to attend. The meeting will follow a closed-door session of the UN Security Council in New York also on Friday, which will address Iran's growing uranium stockpiles approaching weapons-grade levels. The US withdrew from the landmark nuclear deal with Iran during Trump's first term, which had placed limits on Iran's nuclear program in exchange for sanctions relief. Iran adhered to the agreement for a year after the US withdrew, but then gradually reduced its commitments. And efforts to revive the deal have pretty much been stalled since then. And these talks, of course, will decide which way some of those larger discussions with Iran are set to go. The talks are also expected to cover regional and international developments, apart from cooperation within the framework of measures like the BRICS as well as the SCO. Well, bottom line, viewers, is that President Trump recently tried to engage Iran over its nuclear ambitions. But Tehran dismissed the letter, playing diplomatic dodgeball. And as the US seeks peace, Iran is doubling down, strengthening ties with China and Russia, all while advancing its nuclear program. Now the trio is meeting in Beijing, flexing muscles in the vital Strait of Hormuz after joint naval drills. With Russia reliant on Iran for drones and China bypassing sanctions to buy oil, they're really locked in some sort of a dangerous but very close alliance. As Iran digs in, the US and Israel warn that this nuclear standoff could potentially start the next big global crisis. In fact, moving on, US Vice President J.D. Vance, reports suggest, could be in India later this month, accompanied by Second Lady Usha Vance. As reports suggest that this would be Vance's second international trip as Vice President, following his recent visits to France and Germany, which really did create more than a headline. Usha Vance's parents emigrated from India to the US in the 1970s. She will visit her ancestral house for the first time and introduce J.D. Vance to Indian heritage and culture in greater detail. On that note, it's a wrap on this edition of India Global. Thanks so much for watching.
At AJ Bell, we're all about making investing easy. Open an award-winning ISA today in under 15 minutes. AJ Bell, feel good investing.
I don't know why anyone comes here. It's just so quiet.
Quiet your mind mouth with extra gum. Chew good. Lucky me.
It's all good. You have a Tucson. So you can enjoy quiet driving with electric mode. The new Hyundai Tucson plug-in hybrid. 0% APR and 24-hour test drive now available.
We all love a bargain. Like these flatmates who switched to Vodafone and are now paying less for their full fibre broadband, which means they can still stream 2 shows at the same time. But for less. Still gaming with mates, but for less. He's behind you. Reliable full fibre broadband for less from Vodafone.
Oh, wasn't he lovely? That young man at Avanti Travel Insurance.
Yeah, very.
He was so reassuring. They covered all our medical conditions, you know.
Oh, yeah.
Your diabetes, my dodgy hip.
And the rest.
Even at your age, love. Oh. Love?
Oh, great.
Oh, love.
Avanti Travel Insurance cover most pre-existing health conditions for all ages. That's travel reassurance. Call or go online.
I knew I should have got the flamingo.
When I woke up, they said, Alyssa, you've got leukemia. We found out that the chemo wasn't working.
Cancer is still the biggest killer of children in the UK, but innovative new treatments could help beat cancer for more children like Alyssa.
I'm cancer-free now.
Text, call or search to give £3 a month and help build a new children's cancer centre at Great Ormond Street Hospital. So together we can save more lives.
Family life. It's made of ups and downs and those little moments. But should the unthinkable happen to you? Life insurance from Legal & General can help look after monthly bills, the roof over their heads, childcare costs, and most importantly, your family. Because no one protects more families in the UK than us. Premiums start from £5 a month and they never rise. Plus there's a £100 gift card after you apply. Legal & General. Ensure life goes on.
Whatever you need to ask about cancer, Macmillan's free support line is just a call away.
Hello, Macmillan.
Whether it's money...
Am I going to lose my job?
Getting on with life.
Can I still go abroad? Get insurance?
Or just need someone to listen.
How do I tell them?
Our specialist advisors are here to help as often as you need them. Whatever you need to ask, cancer, money, life, call us now on 0808 134 1000.
Actor Rania Rao is not cooperating with the authorities and strongly opposes a bail plea in the gold smuggling case, terms the case a matter of national security. Udayanidhi Stalin joins his father in taking a dig on delimitation, asks newlywed couples to have children quickly. DMK sends delegations to Karnataka and Andhra to invite chief ministers for the delimitation conference in Chennai. The confrontation between the Lieutenant Governor and Delhi government seems set to tide over after the court clarifies that the government has legislative and executive powers over administrative services in the National Capital Region. Intelligence has accused actor Rania Rao of not cooperating with investigators and has opposed strongly her bail plea.